Now take you to this, getting some analysis on the ANC provincial elective conference in the Eastern Cape, where members of the NEC have been engaging regional branches. Of course, you saw earlier President Cyril Ramaphosa in the Eastern Cape and giving a briefing saying that unity will prevail not only in the ANC in that province but in the country as well. Let's now bring in Dr Ntsikelelo Breakfast for his analysis. Dr. Breakfast, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me, Unati.
Dr. Breakfast, before we speak about the ANC, I'd like to draw you on just what we saw earlier this morning with the Defence Minister, of course, hosting that Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster briefing. I'm not sure how much of that you've seen, and if you have, what do we make of, just what was coming out of this briefing where, Defence Minister Thandi Modise saying that the cluster is reassessing the capacity and the strength of intelligence services, of course, obviously wanting, some form of support from the country, given the level or the lack of that support, given what happened in July of last year?
Yeah, so there have been many security threats that have been posing danger to national security. But I think also the reason why they held a press conference was to assure the nation that what had happened last year when the conflict broke out with regard to the looting will not happen, because there was a slow pace of the intelligence architecture. They should have intercepted the threats. So I think also they are acting on the recommendations of the report by a professor, I think it's Sandy Africa from the University of Pretoria, to basically show the nation that they are, on top of things.
All right, let's now turn our focus on what's happening in the Eastern Cape, particularly as it relates to the ANC. We heard from President Cyril Ramaphosa speaking outside, some of the engagements that he's been having, describing, this two-day meeting as part of an analysis campaign and to solve the many challenges that is, being faced by the party. Now, looking at the province, the Eastern Cape specifically, what are the challenges that this conference has had to address for the PEC to ultimately get a united ANC in the region?
First things first, my view is that the political footprint of the president is meant to basically booster the candidacy of Oscar Mabuyane. So the president does have a strategic interest in the province. I'll tell you why, because this is the second largest province of the ANC. Now, I don't think that the largest province of the ANC, namely KZN, will vouch for him to come back for the second term. So this province is going to be a geopolitical battleground. I think the Ramaphosa faction might outmaneuver the other faction. No wonder, for instance, there have been other branches that have been discontent about the way things are. Because you must remember, Unati, that most of the conferences of the ANC are won through the office of the secretary of the ANC. The same goes to the national ones. I was referring to, in the beginning, to the provincial ones. So the secretary of the ANC in the Eastern Cape is aligned to Oscar Mabuyane, and Oscar Mabuyane is aligned to the president. So I think in the bigger scheme of things, in my view, despite the fact that at the moment it is hard to tell which way the wind is blowing, but I get the sense that Oscar Mabuyane does have an upper hand. I think maybe out of these 8 regions, I would say that 5 regions are in favor of him. However, it must be noted that the terrain is still fluid, though, that things can change.
Now, speaking, about the chair of the ANC in that province, also happens to be the premier of that province, Oscar Mabuyane. He does seem to enjoy, a lot of support in the OR Tambo region, which is the biggest in the province. But also, Oscar Mabuyane, has been leveled with allegations of corruption, of which, of course, he denies and says there is no evidence that connects him to such. Do you think he's still the right man for the job?
I think in the beginning you've hit the nail on the head by saying that Oscar Mabuyane enjoys support in the OR Tambo region, which is the biggest region of the ANC in the Eastern Cape, because he's also from that part of I think he's from Krisan, if I'm not mistaken. So no wonder he enjoys support there. But also the other region where he enjoys support is, I think, Sarah Batman region. So is he fit and proper to lead the ANC? Your guess is as good as mine. Suffice to say, there have been reports that have found him to have been at fault. A case in point is the public protector's report that singled him out. The other report that unveiled interesting findings was the report by Smu Ndebele that argued that the PC must be dissolved. But these reports have not been entertained by the president, nor they have been entertained by the mother body or the NEC, because the majority of people in the NEC are in favor of Ramaphosa. So what you see here, Unati, is that the ANC under the leadership of Ramaphosa is applying double standards with regard to fighting against corruption.
Now, when we start to speak about the conference in December, I like what you said earlier, describing what we're seeing now, in just the jostling for who will make it to second term or not. You called it a geopolitical background. So when we look at, ahead in the conference, a lot of people saying that the ANC that we're seeing, today will not go in a united front as we've seen in 2017. Who do you think then, will give support for the role of ANC president when that conference happens in December? And particularly speaking about the Eastern Cape.
Unati, let me make three strategic points about the Eastern Cape. Firstly, and most importantly, one of the advantages of Oscar Mabuyane is that he's got the state machinery at his disposal. So he can dish out favors to his henchmen in exchange for support in order for him to hold on to power. Secondly, as I indicated to you earlier on, that most of the conferences of the ANC, if not all of them, they are won through the office of the secretary. And in this case, the secretary is aligned to the faction of Oscar Mabuyane. No wonder there have been other branches that have been discontent about the way things are. But also, I think the branches of the ANC as well, by and large, they know that if they are in favor of Oscar Mabuyane, they stand to benefit the material gains. So I would say that he stands a good chance of emerging as a victor at the upcoming conference.
All right, Dr. Breakfast, thank you so much for your time and your analysis this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.